they come from, so that you see the world.
Let us get questions.
Question. Okay, so please, the floor is open. Put up your hand. Yes, yeah. Your name and where you come from?
Yeah, I'm Kannan. I'm from India.
From India.
From India, from southern part of India. So I've been to one of the oldest synagogues in Cochin. I'm not sure if you've been in the southern part of India synagogue. But the question is, do you think religion is still relevant in today's times and in the future?
Is
religion still relevant in the future to come?
religion has never been as relevant as it is today. People are without any sense of why are they here? What is the meaning of life? I mean, in certain ways, we are like books from the library. You go and you collect the book, and you have at some point to give it back. Some people go over the time, like me, but even I will have to give it back one day. It has been asked for me to give up life. But between the birth and the death, what are we here for? And science doesn't give me any answer to that. Religion does. Of course, it's different in different religions. But I think in certain points, it goes very close together. I would share with you what I actually have developed myself in my later years. You shall, if you become an old man, not if, but you will become an old man, and you shall use the time to rethink, to control your ideas. Am I on the right path or am I going astray? And I have always been believing that the time will come when the world will be a happy place. And what do I call happy? My definition of happiness is to feel safe. Happiness is not the big love, or you win in the lottery, or happiness is to feel safe. And that is what we in Judaism call that Messiah will come, and there will be no more war. We will make the weapons into productive tools. We will sit under a tree and not be afraid. So I have believed that one day we knock on the door, and we have periods when we think the chances is better than others. The first night of the Jewish Easter festival, we actually go and open the door to see whether Elias, who shall come and pronounce that now comes Messiah, that he might stand out on the other side of the door. In the meantime, I have come to the conclusion there's nobody that coming in like that, wow, overnight, everything will be settled. That we cannot do. That even in Moses, in Christianity, Jesus, Muhammad, even they will have to take time, and we have to help them. I'm not believing so much in the Messiah as I'm believing in the Messianic age. We are coming to a period where this world will be a safe place for people to live. And I believe it very strongly. And that's a religion that gives it to me. And that shall happen is a problem not for one person, but it's a problem for every person in the world. We shall all contribute small contributions, not contributions of money, but you go and visit a lonely person. You bring the world nearer to Messianic age. You pick the phone and phone the lonely person. you do something, you give somebody something to a hungry person to eat. You teach a person that was taken away from learning. Small things, but all of it added up together, that will bring the Messianic age. And that's religion's duty. That at least to me, it has come through religion. That this is God created that world, not that people living here shall be unhappy, but so that they should be happy. And therefore, religion is so necessary nowadays.
Thank you very much. Yes, Holdt?
Yes. My name is Turk. I'm from Denmark, and first of all, thank you for the amazing stories. My question is, throughout your life, when you met conflict with other people, what in your kind of like experience has been the best way to kind of like close the gap or kind of like connect with these people?
Well, I want to say I have been meeting problems where I was a neutral observer, and I have been meeting problems where I was part of the problem. Some would say that I was the problem. Where I was involved personally. And I have been able, I would say to some extent, to bring people together if they had a conflict. And there have been so many other cases where I came in too late and where the case was lost before I came in. I would take such a simple thing that that marriage, and according to Danish law, if at least it was like that, it might have been changed in the meantime, that if the couple came to the point where they wanted to divorce, they should go to see the priest. If at least one of them demanded that, they should go to the priest and he should try to mediate between them. And I, for the Jewish population, I was the one that came to, but at that point they had already declared that the other person was an idiot and was a criminal and whatever they called each other. And it was too late to start to bring them together, because they would lose faith to their families that were told that the other person was impossible. But there have been cases, yes, problems where they had disputes about certain things, and you don't have to look for the complete truth in the matter. You have to look for something where they can live with the decision, where they both can live with the decision, so that life shall continue in the past. What happened in the past happened. Who was right, who was wrong. Not give us the one to stand, you are wrong, but tell them, from your point of view, this was the development, but see it also from the other point of view. My understanding of you shall love your neighbor as yourself is not that you shall love the neighbor, the stranger. How can you love the stranger as much as you love yourself? But you shall be in solidarity with the stranger. You shall feel that you are in his place. I feel today terrible about my generation and our time. When I read in the papers about all the people that are drowning in the Mediterranean, I put myself in their place. They run away not because they have heard that in Denmark you get paid for your children. They have no idea what you get paid for in Denmark. They don't know that Denmark is a country. Solidarity, try to see it from the other point of view. I have had my own problems. I can tell you that I'm the person that has been elected chief rabbi most times in Denmark, because in my period where I acted chief rabbi the whole continuously. But in the meantime, in one situation, I got new conditions from my board that would make it impossible for me to be me, where I gave up my post, but I have 9 months to give them, so within the 9 months the problem was solved. At another point they fired me, and each time I had to be elected again. So I've been elected 3 times, Chief Rabbi. That is a record in the story. And of course these cases are, you find it very difficult because yes, you might want to say, forget it, let us continue. But there are certain principles where you say, well, if you, for example, as it was the case in one, if you give up your right to speak, to say what you think, you give up your identity. There it's very difficult to find a compromise. We found a way so that we found that if there was any discussion between the board and the rabbi, then there would be a third part that could decide on the sort of case. So we found a way, but it was not easy. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, you tell your name and where you come from. Yeah, and then
Yes, my name is Irina, and I come originally from Russia. I was thinking when you were talking about that you like the Danes for being tolerant and accepting to strangers, I was actually thinking about that in the recent years there's been a change of attitude towards foreigners in Denmark. That there's new laws being passed all the time, making it more difficult for people to come and stay, and not only refugees but also other categories of foreigners. What is your comment to that? What do you think of it?
I don't understand fully what you mean with that question.
What do I mean with it?
can you repeat maybe louder? Yeah.
Just
Can you give a little bit more?
well, you know, it's there is first of all with the refugees that were coming in the last maybe 2 or 3 years. There's now are thinking about basically sending them back as much as possible. Also not allowing new people to come without being able to send them back whenever they want. Also for people who want to reunite with their, for example, if the spouse comes from abroad, for people who want the family reunification, they're trying to make it very, very hard. You know, there's a lot of examples of basically this acceptance not being so much as it used to be.
I want to give the Danish people, I'm one of them, but in this case I want to give my co-citizens credit for what happened 75 years ago. I cannot speak about tolerance in Denmark without remembering that I was saved, my life was saved by the understanding of the Danish people in 1943 when we were under German occupation and the Germans were persecuting also the Danish Jews. And we got from the Danish people, not necessarily from the government who was not disagreeing, but there was no guidance from any authority. It was the initiative of the grassroots of the Danish people that did that we were hidden and we were helped to escape from Denmark to Sweden, the majority. That has to be mentioned, and I'm being asked sometimes if that would happen today, do you think that you would be helped the same way? And my answer is yes. The Danes are not anti-Semites. There are Danish anti-Semites, but I mean, you have fools in every part of any population. This audience, of course, is an exception. but if you have 1,000 people, you have a number of fools in these 1,000 people. You can discuss whether it is 2% or 4%, but some fools there are, and they can be anti-Semites. But you don't have anti-Semitic movement will not have a chance in Denmark, to my mind. That's my opinion. There might be others that have a different. But that same acceptance has not been transferred to other groups that are minority groups. And that is, first of all, the Jews have never been so many. You have much more. But you have seen groups, also groups from Eastern Europe that have come to Denmark as refugees and have been integrating very well. We had Polish Jews coming here in 69, 70. Their integration was marvelous. We had people from Vietnam that came here. We had Hungarians that came here. But they were smaller groups and were integrated. There was not that fear that I talked about before, that they came to conquer the country. I'm worried, let me say that. I'm worried when I go and visit Sjælsmark Kaserne, where they keep people who have been refused asylum under circumstances that are not worthy of Danish understanding. We are not treating people that come here and claim to be refugees in the same way, in the same justice as we keep every person who is being accused. When a person is being accused of a crime, he is not a criminal until the sentence says that he is. Until then, he is not guilty, only when the judgment comes. The refugee is being considered guilty until he can prove, or she, that he is a decent refugee. And that can be very difficult to prove. What do you bring along? Your story. And if they don't believe your story from the beginning, it's very hard. And again, you cannot appeal a decision about asylum or not asylum. In other cases in court, you go from one court to you can appeal to the next court. That you cannot do it. So there are many things I would have liked to see different. But I think that the Danish people has come to a point where they had enough, where they realize that it has become, I would call it a farce sometimes. I mean, take the law about handshake to become Danish. What nonsense is that? The Constitution says that you become Dane by law, not by handshake. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. And then Nana.
My name is Daniel. I'm from Australia. And we started talking about creation, and God created the first being. Do you see God as something out there that's bigger than us, and we're here, and there's God? Or do you see perhaps that we are all parts of God, genuinely, I'm God, you're God, that it's all one and the same thing? Or is it a...
I believe that in every person there's something of God. In you, and me, and every person. When we die, that part of us join again you're speaking about an abstract thing. God is abstract. God is not, you cannot hold on to God. So when we die, that part of human beings that constitutes our feelings, our knowledge, things I can also not touch. I cannot take out, look, here's my feeling, look, here's my knowledge. No, so that is the divine part of us that is in all person. Yeah.
Okay, Nana.
Yeah, I want to go back to the question just before.
Can you tell your name and where you come
Yes,
from?
my name is Nana, and I'm totally Dane.
You are
I'm a
totally
Dane.
Danish. It's Korean,
Yes.
adopted Danish.
What do you think about all the new restrictions where foreigner or refugees are being really, really poor in Denmark? and we make it really hard to reunite with families. And we also send people to not safe countries as Afghanistan, for example.
I think it is a scandal.
Yeah.
If I should say it short, it's here. Families should be together. And the idea that you are now trying to make all permissions to stay here something temporary and not a permanent permission, that is poison towards integration. I mean,
Exactly.
I just mentioned that I think that Danish is a difficult language. Why should people go and take the trouble to learn Danish if they are only here temporarily? Where in the world shall they use the Danish language?
Of course.
If not in Denmark. So we have gone in a wrong direction. But I'm still an optimist, because I have seen that things do not develop. If you see things develop in a line, and you see the line goes that way, then it does not continue like that. I remember 25, 30 years ago, people told me how many grandchildren the refugees of that time would have in 50 years time, because they thought that the people came from countries where it was very normal to have 6, 8, 10 children. They didn't understand that line does break, and they assimilate in the country, and they now come to a country where they want their own house and their own car and their own dog. In Danish we call it the 3 V's: Villa, Volvo, or Baugård. So therefore they can't afford the many children, and that's what's happening. I would have liked to see the Danes produce more children, but that's a different story. I have no influence on that matter, unfortunately.
Yes, but at my school, there's a lot of Muslims, and they take the jobs which is not very well paid, and very soon it's a SOPU, and very soon we will stand and need, I think it's like 30,000 warm hands to take care of the elderly. And I know for a fact it's right now it's Muslims which is being educated, so I really don't understand why they want to kick them out. And another thing is, I think it's really strange that for a lot of people in Denmark, we have a lot of problems, but for a lot of people...
You don't have to convince me.
Okay.
I'm on your side.
But
I'm on your side.
It's a really it's a big issue whether the children have no start.
I can tell you that I not just only sit here and proclaim certain principles, but a person who has also office in this house, by the name of Özlem Cekic, who happens to be a friend of mine, and I might even say a close friend of mine. We have, together with the Danish Free School organization, started a movement where we, so to say, couple, a school, a Muslim free school, and a general free school. We let the children of the same age, we do it with children from 7th, 8th, 9th class. They come together in the morning. They have activities together, a couple of hours, to learn about each other and personally exchange email addresses and SMSs and what do I know. Then Özlem and I come and see whether they can accept to be tortured by speeches by her and by me, especially. then we have lunch together, and then we have a discussion together. And once we finish with the children, the parents from the two schools, from the children there, come together to parents' meeting, where again Özlem and I speak to them about building bridges. And we have already seen some very good results from that. I am against all generalizations. So when I say that our first attempt to meet with the imams in Denmark, that failed. The imams are afraid of their own shadow. And they're afraid. Özlem is a Muslim, but she doesn't wear a scarf, and she is being political. She's no longer in that, but that might get criticism. And I'm a Jew, and there might be some feelings that they should not have anything to do with a Jew, even a Zionist Jew. So they have not been meeting us as we hope. Now we start with the grassroots instead of starting from the top. We start from the grassroots, and I think that is a good way to go ahead.
Yeah. But when do you think you are a real Dane? Because
Nana, maybe last question because time is up.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to just question, concrete one? Yeah. Nana.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you think you're a real Dane? Because I know for a fact if you're born in Denmark, but your parents aren't Danish citizens, then when you are 18, you're not allowed a passport. And I think it's
again, you don't have to put. I know it all. I know it all. We have unfortunately a political system where a party with these odd ideas, let me be very polite, with these odd ideas, they have the power. They say every year when they have to accept a law of finance to this country, they put such conditions in, and the others are too weak, saying this is beyond the red line. They accept these conditions. That is very sad, but that is a present political system. That is not eternal.
Okay, thank you very much.
You said something, you should make peace with your enemy. But from my point of view, I don't agree. I don't think you have enemy at all. So I don't think you have enemy.
So here we have a picture of Bent Melchior,
It's a very funny.
a drawing by our Palestinian staff member. He's in Lebanon, that's why he's not here. Umar al-Sheikh is a Palestinian refugee to Lebanon and a refugee to Denmark. So he made this for you, and this is a gift from all of us here in appreciation of your great work.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We shall all be able to be with our families together, and we shall all find that we are safe. And I hope that the guards in the street of the synagogue shall be removed.
Yes.
We shall be able to pass through the street without fear. I don't believe in all that. And I can tell you that I have been threatened as much as most other people who go with guards all the time. That is not the way. We go as free people and we trust the world. When bad things happen, you go by car, you might come into a car accident. That doesn't keep you away from driving again tomorrow. And so we shall see times where we can be happy, as I call it, by trusting in the future.
Thank you.
Very funny
Yeah,
painting.
this is, yeah.
And you have to give my regards
Yeah.
to the,
Omar,
to the
yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. not all the refugees.
Thank you very much. Do you have a bag for Putin? Or shall we carry a bag for you?
Can I have a
That
picture?
would be nice.
Yeah, can you
Can
find
I
a
have
small
a
bag?
photo?